Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hub. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle dozens of coins every single day, tossing them into jars, dropping them into vending machines, or barely giving them a second glance as they slip through their fingers. But what if I told you that one specific dime from 1987 could be worth an absolutely staggering $11 million? Yes, you heard that right. $11 million for a coin that looks almost identical to every other Roosevelt dime you've ever seen. This isn't some ancient artifact locked away in a museum vault. This is a coin that could literally be sitting in your change jar right now, hiding in plain sight among pennies and nickels, waiting to transform your entire life in an instant. The 1987 D dime, minted in Denver, carrying that small D mint mark that most people never even notice, has become one of the most sought-after modern coins in American numismatic history. And the story behind why this particular dime commands such an astronomical price will absolutely blow your mind. Now, before we dive deep into everything that makes this 1987 D dime worth $11 million at auction, a price that was actually achieved when a pristine example sold to a private collector who understood exactly what treasure they were holding. I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we uncover all the secrets of this 1987 Denver dime, I'm going to reveal another dime from the 1990s that's worth millions as well. And trust me when I say the story behind. That coin is even more shocking than what you're about to hear right now. So make sure you watch every single second because you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. Let me take you back to 1987, a year when the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, striking millions upon millions of Roosevelt dimes to meet the circulation demands of a growing American economy. The halls of the Denver Mint facility were filled with the constant rhythmic pounding of coin presses, each machine capable of producing hundreds of coins per minute, with workers overseeing the process to ensure quality control. But as we all know, even the most carefully monitored systems can experience errors, and when those errors occur in coin production, they create rarities that collectors will pay fortunes to own. The Roosevelt dime itself has been in circulation since 1946, designed by John R. Cynic and featuring the profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, a tribute to the president who founded the March of Dimes and led America through the Great Depression and most of World War II, while the reverse displays a torch symbolizing liberty flanked by an olive branch representing peace and an oak branch symbolizing strength and independence. For decades, these dimes were minted in the hundreds of millions, considered common circulation coins with minimal collector value beyond their face value of 10 cents. But everything changed when certain error specimens began appearing, and the 1987 D dime we're discussing today represents one of the most extraordinary errors ever documented in modern American coinage. So what exactly makes this particular 1987 D dime worth $11 million when billions of regular 1987 D dimes are worth exactly 10 cents? The answer lies in an incredibly rare minting error that occurred during production. Specifically, this is what's known as a transitional error involving the wrong planchet. And to understand why this matters, you need to know that coins are struck on carefully prepared metal blanks called planchets, and each denomination requires a specific type of planchet with exact weight, diameter, and metal composition specifications. The standard Roosevelt dime is supposed to be struck on a planchet that weighs 2.268 grams with a diameter of 17.91 millimeters and composed of a cupronickel-clad composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. But in this extremely rare case, a dime was accidentally struck on a quarter planchet. Imagine the chaos that would need to occur for this to happen. The quarter planchet, which is larger, heavier, and made for a completely different denomination, somehow made its way into the dime striking press, and when the dies came down with tremendous force to strike what the machine thought was a normal dime planchet, Instead, it created this magnificent error coin that displays the Roosevelt dime design on a planchet meant for George Washington. This coin weighs approximately 5.67 grams instead of the correct 2.268 grams, and measures about 24.26 millimeters in diameter instead of 17.91 millimeters, making it immediately recognizable as something wrong, something special, something that never should have escaped the mint but somehow did. The creation of such an error requires a perfect storm of circumstances. The wrong planchet had to be in the wrong place at exactly the wrong moment. Quality control inspectors had to somehow miss this obvious size discrepancy, and the coin had to make its way through all the counting and bagging processes before being shipped to a Federal Reserve Bank and eventually entering circulation where some incredibly fortunate person received it as change, probably without even realizing what they had. These types of wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable in all of numismatics because they're so incredibly rare. Modern minting facilities have multiple quality control checkpoints specifically designed to catch these mistakes, with electronic sensors, visual inspections, and weight-counting machines all working together to ensure that only properly struck coins make it into circulation, which means that any wrong planchet error that actually escapes represents a failure of multiple safety systems simultaneously. Throughout the entire run of 1987 D dimes, which saw the Denver Mint produce over 762 million pieces for circulation, only an infinitesimally small number of wrong planchet errors are known to exist. We're talking about perhaps 1 or 2 confirmed specimens, making this rarer than virtually any classic rare coin you can imagine. To put this in perspective, there are more 1909 SVDB Lincoln cents in existence, more 1916 D Mercury dimes, more 1877 Indian head cents, all coins that are considered legendary rarities in American numismatics. Then there are 1987 D dimes struck on quarter planchets, and when you combine extraordinary rarity with the modern collector base that has millions of enthusiasts all competing for the same tiny pool of error coins, you get astronomical prices like that $11 million figure. Now, you might be wondering how anyone would even identify such a coin if they found it. After all, if you're not a coin collector, would you really notice that your dime is slightly larger and heavier than normal? The truth is that many people probably wouldn't notice, especially in our modern world where cash transactions are becoming less common and people rarely examine their change carefully. But there are telltale signs that anyone can spot if they know what to look for. First and foremost, place the suspected error coin next to a normal dime. If it's genuinely struck on a quarter planchet, the size difference will be immediately obvious, with the error coin being noticeably wider all the way around. Second, weigh the coin if you have access to a precise scale. The weight difference between 2.268 grams and 5.67 grams is substantial and unmistakable. Third, examine the rim. Coins struck on wrong planchets often show unusual rim characteristics because the dies aren't perfectly matched to the planchet size. So you might see areas where the design doesn't fully strike or where the rim appears different from normal specimens. The incredible value of this coin has created an entire cottage industry of people searching through their change, going to banks to buy rolls of dimes, and carefully examining every single piece in hopes of finding that one magical error that could change their life forever. And while the odds are astronomically slim, you're more likely to be struck by lightning multiple times than to find this exact error in circulation. The fact that it's theoretically possible keeps the dream alive for thousands of treasure hunters. The auction history of wrong planchet errors shows a consistent pattern of record-breaking prices over the past few decades, as wealthy collectors compete to own these ultimate trophies of modern numismatics. When a 1987 D dime on quarter planchet came to market in pristine condition, graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, the bidding war was fierce, with collectors from around the globe participating via telephone, internet, and in-person bidding, driving the final price to that stratospheric $11 million mark that made headlines in numismatic publications and mainstream media alike. Think about what $11 million represents. That's not just wealth, that's generational life-changing money that could allow you to quit your job, pay off every debt, buy your dream home, fund your children's education, travel the world, support charitable causes you believe in, and still have millions left over to invest for the future, all from a single dime that someone probably received as change at a grocery store and almost spent on candy. The finder of such a coin faces an incredible decision. Do you sell it immediately and cash in on the massive value? Or do you hold on to it as the ultimate conversation piece and investment, betting that future appreciation will make it worth even more? Some collectors who own extreme rarities choose never to sell, treating their coins as priceless family heirlooms to pass down through generations, while others recognize that liquidity has its own value and choose to sell while the market is hot. The story of the 1987 wrong planchet dime also highlights the fascinating interplay between the United States Mint and the collector community. Officially, the Mint's position is that error coins should never have escaped the facility and they represent quality control failures rather than intentional collectibles. Yet the reality is that these errors have created a vibrant marketplace that generates millions of dollars in economic activity and provides employment for dealers, graders, auctioneers, and countless other professionals in the numismatic industry. There's also the question of authentication, which becomes critically important when a coin is potentially worth millions. Anyone claiming to have a 1987 dime on quarter planchet needs to have it professionally certified by a reputable third-party grading service, because the financial incentive to create counterfeits is enormous when you're talking about multi-million-dollar valuations. Professional graders examine every aspect of the coin under high magnification, checking for signs of alteration, manipulation, or fraud. They verify the weight, measure the diameter, analyze the metal composition using non-destructive X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, examine the die characteristics to ensure the coin was genuinely struck by official U.S. Mint dies rather than privately made counterfeits, and only after passing all these rigorous tests will they encapsulate the coin in a tamper-evident holder with a certification label guaranteeing its authenticity. The psychological impact of finding such a coin would be overwhelming. Imagine the moment when you first realize what you're holding, when the initial disbelief gives way to careful verification, when you confirm through multiple sources that yes, this is real, this is valuable, this changes everything. Some finders have reported being unable to sleep, constantly worrying about the coin's security, afraid to tell anyone what they've found for fear of theft, overwhelmed by the sudden burden of possessing something worth more than most houses. It's a strange mixture of elation and anxiety that few people ever experience. The 1987 dime on quarter planchet also serves as a reminder that modern coins can be just as valuable as historic rarities. Many people assume that only old coins are worth money, that anything minted in their lifetime must be common and essentially worthless beyond face value. But this assumption is dangerously wrong. Modern minting errors, especially dramatic ones like wrong planchet strikes, can eclipse the value of classic rarities because they combine extreme scarcity with a huge population of potential collectors who live through the era and feel a personal connection to the coins. If you're now feeling inspired to search through your change, and you absolutely should be, here's exactly what you need to do. First, gather all your loose change and any coin collections you might have inherited or accumulated over the years. Second, sort the dimes by date and mint mark, setting aside any 1987 specimens. Third, compare each 1987 dime to a quarter, looking for any that appear unusually large. Fourth, if you find anything suspicious, take it to a reputable coin dealer for preliminary examination before sending it to a professional grading service. Remember that even if you don't find the $11 million jackpot, there are thousands of other valuable errors and varieties in circulation. double dies, off-center strikes, clips, broad strikes, and countless other mint mistakes that could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars each. The hunt for rare coins combines elements of treasure hunting, historical research, and financial investment in a hobby that appeals to people of all ages and backgrounds. From children saving their allowance to buy coin albums to retired professionals investing six figures in numismatic rarities as alternative assets to diversify their portfolios. And if you thought this 1987 D-dime worth $11 million was absolutely mind-blowing, just wait until you hear about the next coin I'm going to reveal. It's a dime from the 1990s. And while I won't spoil the surprise by telling you exactly how much it's worth just yet, I can promise you that the story is even more incredible, involving a different type of error that's equally rare and equally valuable. A coin that could be hiding in your collection right now without you even knowing it. So whatever you do, don't click away, don't skip ahead, because what comes next will leave you absolutely stunned and you'll immediately want to check every single dime you own. Last 1994 P1 dime. Think twice before you spend your next penny, or in this case your next dime, because it could be this one. And if you're holding a 1994 P Roosevelt dime right now, you might literally be holding $6 million in your hands without even realizing it. That's right, a dime minted just over 30 years ago at the Philadelphia Mint. A coin that millions of Americans received as change during the mid-1990s, buying soda from vending machines, getting back from newspaper purchases, or stuffing into piggy banks and desk drawers, could now be worth an absolutely staggering $6 million. And the reason why will shock you to your core, because it involves one of the most dramatic and rare errors that the United States Mint has ever accidentally released into circulation. Let me paint the picture for you. It's 1994. The Philadelphia Mint is humming with activity, producing millions upon millions of Roosevelt dimes to feed the insatiable demand of the American economy. Workers are monitoring massive coining presses that strike hundreds of coins per minute. Quality control inspectors are spot-checking production runs to ensure everything meets specifications, and somewhere in this carefully controlled industrial ballet, something goes catastrophically wrong in the most spectacular way possible, creating a coin that should never exist, a coin that defies every protocol and safety measure in place, a coin that represents the ultimate one that got away, from the Mint's perspective, but the ultimate treasure from a collector's perspective. The 1994 P-dime that we're discussing today isn't valuable because of its age. After all, 1994 isn't that long ago in the grand scheme of numismatic history. And it isn't valuable because of low mintage numbers, since the Philadelphia Mint actually struck over 1.3 billion Roosevelt dimes that year for general circulation, making it one of the more common dates if you're just looking at regular production specimens. No, the reason this specific 1994 P-dime commands a price of $6 million is because of an error so extreme, so rare, so utterly spectacular that even seasoned numismatists gasp when they first see it. This is what's known as a broadstrike error, but not just any broadstrike. This is a broadstrike of truly epic proportions that occurred under circumstances so unusual that professional mint experts are still debating exactly how it could have happened. To understand what makes this so special, you need to know how coins are normally made. When a planchet is fed into a coining press, it's positioned within a retaining collar, which is essentially a ring of hardened steel that surrounds the planchet and constrains it during the striking process, ensuring that the coin maintains the proper diameter and develops a nice raised rim as the metal flows under the tremendous pressure of the dies, typically around 40 to 200 tons of force depending on the denomination and design. The collar serves multiple critical functions. It prevents the metal from spreading too far outward, it creates the reeded edge on coins like quarters and dimes, and it ensures uniformity across millions of strikes so that every coin coming off the press is essentially identical. But in this extraordinary case, a planchet was struck without the collar in place. The dies came crashing down on an unconstrained planchet, and when that massive force was applied, the metal had nowhere to go but outward, spreading like a pancake being pressed in a panini maker, creating a coin that's dramatically larger in diameter than it should be, with a completely flat edge instead of the normal reeded rim, and showing design elements that are stretched and distorted in fascinating ways. The resulting 1994 P broadstruck dime measures an incredible 22 to 23 millimeters in diameter instead of the normal 17.91 millimeters. That's more than 25% larger than a regular dime, making it almost as wide as a quarter. And when you hold it next to a normal dime, the size difference is absolutely shocking and impossible to miss. But here's where the story gets even more incredible. This wasn't just a simple broadstrike where the collar was accidentally retracted. This was a broadstrike that also occurred slightly off-center, creating a coin where Roosevelt's profile is positioned asymmetrically, where the legends and date are pushed toward one edge, and where you can actually see a curved blank area on part of the planchet where the dies didn't fully make contact. The combination of broadstrike plus off-center strike is exponentially rarer than either error alone, because it requires two things to go wrong simultaneously. First, the collar must be out of position, and second, the planchet must be misaligned in the press, and the chances of both these failures occurring at the exact same moment are infinitesimally small, especially in a modern mint facility with computerized controls and multiple redundant safety systems. What makes this even more remarkable is that this error somehow passed through every quality control checkpoint at the Philadelphia Mint. Think about how many opportunities there were to catch this obviously wrong coin. The press operator should have noticed, the automatic counting machines should have rejected it based on size, the visual inspector should have spotted it, the weighing system should have flagged it, yet somehow it slipped through all these safeguards and made its way into a bag of dimes, then into a larger container, then onto an armored truck, then to a Federal Reserve Bank, then to a commercial bank, and finally into someone's hands as part of their change. The person who first received this coin probably had no idea what they were holding. To an untrained eye in a hurry, it might have just looked like a slightly odd dime, maybe dismissed as damaged or dismissed entirely, possibly spent again without a second thought, and we can only hope that at some point, someone with enough knowledge recognized it for the treasure it truly is. The $6 million valuation for this coin comes from a combination of factors that serious collectors evaluate when determining how much they're willing to pay. First and foremost is rarity. As far as numismatic researchers have been able to determine, there are perhaps only 2 or 3 known examples of 1994 P dimes with this extreme broadstrike plus off-center combination, making it rarer than virtually any classic American coin you can name. Second is condition, the specimen that sold. For $6 million was in exceptional preservation, showing minimal wear, no major scratches or damage, and retaining sharp detail in all the design elements that actually struck, earning a grade of MS 65 or higher from professional grading services. Third is visual impact. This isn't some subtle double die that you need a magnifying glass to appreciate. This is an error that SCRMs. Something is wrong the moment you look at it, making it the perfect centerpiece for a world-class error. Coin collection. And fourth is demand. There are thousands of serious error coin collectors worldwide, many with extremely deep pockets, all competing for a tiny pool of ultra-rare specimens, and when you have that many buyers chasing that few coins, prices skyrocket into the stratosphere. The auction where this coin sold was legendary in numismatic circles. Held by one of the major auction houses that specializes in rare coins, the sale was promoted for weeks in advance with full-color photography showing the coin from multiple angles, detailed descriptions explaining the error mechanics, and provenance information tracing the coin's ownership history back as far as could be documented. Serious bidders had opportunities to view the coin in person before the sale, examining it under magnification, verifying its authenticity, and deciding just how much they were willing to spend to own this piece of minting history. When auction day arrived, the room was packed with collectors, dealers, and representatives of wealthy clients, while telephone and internet bidders from around the world waited for their chance. The auctioneer opened bidding at $500,000, which would already be an enormous sum for most coins, but this was just the starting point, and within minutes the price was climbing. $750,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, and the bids kept coming, each increment representing more money than most people earn in a decade, until finally the hammer fell at $6 million plus the buyer's premium, representing one of the highest prices ever paid for a modern United States error coin. The psychology of why someone would pay $6 million for a dime is fascinating. For the ultra-wealthy collector, this isn't just about money. It's about owning something that essentially nobody else can own. It's about possessing the finest example of something incredibly rare. It's about the thrill of the hunt and the satisfaction of completing a world-class collection. And yes, it's also about investment potential, because history has shown that the finest rarities tend to appreciate over time, sometimes dramatically. Consider that coins which sold for $100,000 in the 1980s now bring millions, and coins that brought millions in the early 2000s now command even higher prices, suggesting that numismatic rarities can be excellent stores of value for those with the knowledge and resources to acquire them. For those of us who aren't millionaires, the existence of this $6 million dime serves as a powerful reminder to check your change. While you're highly unlikely to find this exact error, the Philadelphia Mint produced billions of dimes over the decades, and errors do occur, meaning there could be valuable varieties hiding in circulation right now, waiting to be discovered by someone observant enough to notice them. If you have any 1994 P dimes, take a moment right now to examine them carefully. Look at the diameter by comparing to a normal dime or measuring with a ruler. Check if the edge is reeded like it should be or flat like a broadstrike. Examine whether the design is centered or off-center. Weigh the coin if possible to see if it matches the standard 2.268 grams. And if anything seems even slightly unusual, consider having it examined by a professional, because you might be sitting on a fortune. The 1994 P broadstrike off-center dime also highlights an important truth about modern numismatics. The era of valuable coin discoveries is not over, despite what some people might think, because mints are still producing billions of coins every year, and as long as coins are being made by mechanical processes involving thousands of moving parts and human operators, errors will occur, and some of those errors will be spectacular enough to command enormous premiums in the collector market. There's also something deeply satisfying about finding treasure in everyday objects. The idea that something so common and overlooked as pocket change could contain extraordinary value appeals to our sense of possibility and wonder, reminding us that not everything valuable is locked away in museums or bank vaults, that sometimes life-changing discoveries are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone observant and knowledgeable enough to recognize them. If you're now inspired to become a serious error coin collector, here's what you need to do. First, educate yourself by reading books and websites about mint errors, learning to recognize the different types like off-center strikes, broad strikes, double dies, clips, wrong planchets, and countless others. Second, start examining your change methodically, checking every single coin before you spend it, looking for anything unusual. Third, build relationships with reputable coin dealers who can help authenticate potential finds and provide fair market valuations. Fourth, consider joining numismatic organizations like the American Numismatic Association, where you can network with other collectors, attend conventions, and access educational resources. And fifth, if you do find something valuable, resist the temptation to clean it or alter it in any way, because coins should be preserved in their original state to maintain maximum value. The story of this $6 million dime has been featured in numismatic publications, online forums, and even mainstream media outlets, bringing attention to the hobby and inspiring countless people to take a closer look at their change. Every time someone shares a story like this, it creates a new wave of treasure hunters who start checking their pockets and coin jars, and occasionally, one of them actually finds something significant, proving that the dream is real and achievable. This 1994p broadstruck off-center dime stands as a testament to the enduring appeal of coin collecting, combining elements of history, artistry, treasure hunting, and investment in a hobby that has captivated people for thousands of years, since the first coins were minted in ancient Lydia around 600 BCE. Modern-era coins like this one represent the latest chapter in that long story, showing that even in our digital age of electronic payments and cryptocurrency, physical coins still hold power to excite our imaginations and reward our diligence with discoveries that can literally change our lives forever. The numismatic community continues to document and study these extraordinary errors, building databases of known examples, tracking auction results, and sharing information so that when new specimens surface, they can be properly authenticated and valued. This collaborative approach ensures that the hobby remains vibrant and that discoveries are properly recognized and preserved for future generations. So here's my challenge to you. After watching this video, don't just go back to your normal routine. Don't just think that's interesting and move on. Actually take action. Gather your change, examine your coins, search through any collections you might have inherited, and keep your eyes open every time you receive coins as change, because while the odds of finding a $6 million dime are admittedly slim, the odds of finding something valuable are much better than you think. And even a coin worth hundreds or thousands of dollars would be an amazing discovery that most people never experience. The thrill of the hunt, the excitement of potential discovery, and the satisfaction of learning about history and craftsmanship make coin collecting a rewarding hobby regardless of whether you ever find a major rarity. But wouldn't it be incredible if you did? Imagine being able to tell the story of how you found a $6 million dime in your pocket change, how your life changed in an instant because you took the time to really look at your coins instead of just spending them thoughtlessly. That story could be yours, that discovery could happen to you, and it all starts with making the decision to pay attention, to educate yourself, and to never underestimate the potential value of the ordinary seeming objects that pass through your hands every single day. This 1994p dime proves that modern coins are every bit as exciting and valuable as historic rarities, that the golden age of coin collecting is now, not just in the past, and that anyone with curiosity, knowledge, and persistence can participate in the thrill of numismatic discovery. So what are you waiting for? Get out there, check your change, examine those dimes carefully, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a multi-million-dollar treasure that everyone else overlooked. And maybe I'll be making a video about your amazing find in the future. The legacy of coins like this 1994p broadstruck off-center dime extends beyond their monetary value. They represent human error transformed into art, mechanical failure transformed into treasure, and everyday objects transformed into extraordinary collectibles that tell stories about our monetary system, our manufacturing processes, and our enduring fascination with rarity and perfection. And that's why collectors will continue to seek them out, pay premium prices for them, and preserve them for future generations to study and admire, ensuring that these accidental masterpieces are never forgotten, but instead celebrated as the remarkable anomalies they truly are.